which is a pretty big camp. And when I say pretty big, like over 1,000 people, which is insane. Where am I being taken to? Like, it's pretty scary.
It is. And you know what? We're all in the same boat, and then you kind of eased into it. How long did that take for you?
The kids did one actually, yeah.
Did they?
The kids did a Camp Media, and they loved it. They used to do like debates. It was like a debate podcast. So like they debate like chicken nuggets or pizza, and it was pretty funny to be fair. But they loved it because they thought they were like little superstars.
Was it like part of an activity led?
Yeah. So
was it just if they wanted?
Yeah. So IHC had like Camp Media, so that was like everything from learning how to fly a drone to green screen. The green screen was amazing. Yeah. There's actually on YouTube a series called The Cookie Cratchers, and it's a 3-part series of the kids made like a full-on feature film.
Oh,
pretty
no
cool.
way.
Yeah.
I'll have to drop the link into that somewhere.
It's actually pretty sick.
I watched it.
It's good, isn't it? Oh yeah, forgot you were there. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. And then I've actually only ever been on one other podcast, and that was Lockdown. And it was like a destination podcast, so talking about Liverpool, but it was over Zoom, and it was because of the back, like you'd speak, and then I'd think you'd stop, then I'd start to speak. Oh my god, it was a nightmare.
It was the pain, that wasn't it? The old sort of virtual meetings constantly, and that type of overtalk. That's why it's great being able to do this.
It's so weird to think like we live through that still. Like it's unreal.
There's still the remnants of it now, isn't it? Where you're kind of doing things over Slack or Teams or anything, where it's easier just being able to do something like this and everything and chat. So, sorry, after
No, go on. I was walking through town earlier, and there was a sign that literally said 2 meters social distancing. I was like, why have they not taken that down yet?
It's crazy.
So weird.
Well,
weird.
We've definitely got a smaller table for this podcast, isn't it? So it's
we clearly no social distancing on this one.
It's a lot cozier. But
footsie under the table.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, I think it's probably a good place to actually start it now that we're getting the podcast going again for this season. So first off, mate, thanks very much for jumping on. What is episode 1, season 2 of the podcast?
Exciting. Honour to be guest number 1. I feel like I've got big boots to fill after last year's guest.
Well, do you know what? It was good, actually. It was nice to be able to just get everyone chatting again and bring people together, like we were just saying, just round an actual table and stuff. But I think with camp coming up, you're off to camp soon yourself, aren't you?
17 days and counting. Which is crazy because last time I was at camp, the podcast had launched, and I remember listening to it, being like, oh, that's pretty cool. And now, 8 months later, I'm here.
And now you're on it and going as well. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, being our social media guy, I'm sure a lot of listeners or watchers have seen you through social media already, but do you want to maybe introduce yourself, kind of what camp you went to, when you went, and a bit about what you do for Camp Leaders?
Yeah, sounds good. So start from the beginning. So I am Smaller Earth's social media specialist, which means I work across our Camp Leaders program, as well as some of the other programs that listeners may have seen or hear, Camp Canada and such. People might remember Lizzie from last year as a guest, who worked on our Camp Canada program. So I help out with all things social, whether it's TikTok, Instagram. Be Real is our new one. Always trying to keep on the top of the latest trend.
Nice.
And people kind of, whenever I describe my job, I'm like, oh, I just sit on TikTok and Instagram all day, but it's a lot more than that, obviously. But that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
And I previously went to Camp IHC.
Brilliant.
Which is a pretty big camp. And when I say pretty big, like over 1,000 people, which is insane.
It's crazy.
So big, like it's pretty much a small town.
Yeah.
And that's based in Pennsylvania, place I'd never even heard of. Not gonna lie, before I went.
Totally the same.
I was like, what is that? And then realised it's actually home to like Philly and pretty famous places.
Huge place.
Massive, like it's literally like, I think it's one of the biggest states as well, which is crazy.
Okay.
Pennsylvania, and my role at IHC was media specialist. So I did pretty much all things like I do now. So I was running around camp making TikToks with the kids. I was helping out with a bit of photography, which I wasn't great at, because put a phone in front of me and I know every feature. Put a camera and I'm like, what the hell is this? So and that was my first summer at camp. So last year was my first year.
Amazing. It's funny you mentioned that when you kind of go, I had no idea about it kind of prior to going when it comes to like the location. I was the same with my camp. I went to Camp Shy in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Like I knew Wisconsin was a place, but I didn't know much about it. And it's funny, isn't it? Like that first season, you kind of go, what am I getting into and where am I going? And there's a lot of unanswered questions, isn't there? I suppose. And the season just went, that was your first season, wasn't it?
First season, first year. A delayed year because I couldn't go because of COVID.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Which is annoying. So technically it should be season 2, but hey-ho.
There'll be a lot of people that are in that boat, to be fair, with last season kind of being the first major season. Loads of people wait until then. So I suppose they've had a year or even 2 years to think, okay, what am I getting myself into? As someone that's been to camp, and now that you've been to camp as well, you can kind of talk it through, but it's so hard to explain until you experience, isn't it? What was that first sort of week like for you? Was it what you expected, or was it just absolutely nothing that your mind created prior?
I think you made a good point about like COVID and having that extra time, an extra year to wait. So I had an extra year of anticipating what is this crazy place going to be, and I think at that point I'd watched every YouTube video, I'd watched every TikTok, I'd read every blog. Like I couldn't physically imagine anything more. So that time really gave me time to think and build a picture of what this crazy place was going to be in my head. Safe to say it was nothing like I expected it to be. And my situation was pretty unique because I did something at my camp called PreCamp.
Okay.
Which is before camp starts. It's like getting camp ready, and there's a few like private events such as like Family Glamp where the families come and stay with the kids for the weekend. But what was unique about that was I was a first timer, and they don't ever usually bring first timers on for pre-camp, just because it's such an unusual kind of, you know, environment that you're throwing yourself into. So they kind of usually leave that for returners. So I was like one of only a couple of people who was first year and pre-camp, and I was going into this crazy place where people who'd been to camp for, 5, 10, 15 years. And I was quite intimidated. Like at first, it was like, wow, like going through those gates was like, it's pretty scary.
Oh, not half.
And we got on like a little minibus from New York, and all the way, I was thinking, as you kind of leave New York, you know, the tall buildings start to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you go into the middle of nowhere.
Seeing the woodlands.
I'm like, where am I being taken to? Like, it's pretty scary.
It is.
And then as soon as you go through those gates, you do still feel a bit, oh God, what is this place? Absolutely. But I think one of the best memories was kind of getting off that bus and one of our directors just running up and giving everyone a hug. And saying welcome home. And I was like, welcome home, this is not my home, I've never been here, like what is this? Very quickly that was like, actually I know why they say that, because it takes a day to feel like home.
It becomes that community for you, doesn't it?
100%. It's like a family. So kind of, in short, like I don't think you could watch every video, as I say, read every blog, but until you actually step foot in that camp, I don't think it's ever going to live up to what you expect it to be. In a good way kind of thing.
I was going to say, there's that much content, and you're one of the ringleaders in getting that content out there for us and stuff. But it is, like, for me, I'm naturally a bit of an overthinker. So prior to going, as none of my friends had done camp, so for me, I was thinking, is it just everyone just going to be playing Kumbaya? Are more people more trained up than what I am and everything like that? How long kind of into your journey at camp did you kind of then go, oh, do you know what? We're all in the same boat, and then you kind of eased into it. How long did that take for you?
I think for me, like anyone that knows me, I can't sit still for 5 minutes. I'm here, there, everywhere. As much as I love having a plan and kind of like, you know, a day by day itinerary of what I'm doing over the next week, my life's so chaotic. So I kind of fit right into camp because camp is so chaotic.
It's mad.
So it didn't take long at all. I'll be totally honest. It probably took about a week or so, because that first night, like sleeping in that bunk with 10 other people, I was like, what have I done? Like, where am I? I was like, how much will it be to get back home?
Everyone has that thought. Everyone has
literally, and it's like, am I the only one thinking this? Like, who can I speak to? Woke up the next day and was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
You get into it, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think everyone's different. Everyone has a different journey. It may take people longer. It may take people even less time. People may not even have a feeling of fear at all. Everyone is different. But the important thing to know is that I can pretty much guarantee 99% of people will be feeling like, oh my God, where am I? What have I done? But I think that's natural, and I think that's normal.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was one thing, because I was definitely having those thoughts myself. And some people can underestimate even the flight over, because you do get hit with jet lag, and then you've got that initial adrenaline when you get to camp, and then it wears off, and people will get homesick. That's normal. But the great thing is, or at least in my experience, everyone kind of was in the same boat. Maybe returners had a bit more experience, but they were the ones that put the arm around some of the people who are feeling a bit homesick and everything. And that's almost, it's a really nice way of bringing that community together, isn't it, very quickly?
100%. And I think, you made a good point about that journey through the airport and getting on a plane. For most people, it's going to be the first time ever getting on a plane. It was mine. And God, going in that airport, I was like, I did have my dad to be like, have you got your passport? Have you got this? Have you got that? And I was like, oh my God, am I going to make it through? Yeah. And again, you know what? As soon as you're in that airport and through those security gates, it's fine.
Oh,
it's like it's a little bit scary, but it's also, I think it's quite liberating, because it's like, I am like getting on a plane on my own for the first time. It's a start of an adventure.
Absolutely.
And I remember like standing in that queue to get on the plane, and you've got your boarding pass in hand, and I was like, oh my God, this is scary.
Shaking,
but then
handing it over,
sat down on the plane, and this is like, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, but like the power of camp and travel and stuff.
Absolutely.
But the plane I was on, it was like a 3, 4 and 3 rows, and such a coincidence, but the row I was on, it was me and 2 other girls next to me.
Yeah.
They were both solo traveling. They were both like, they were doing a couple of months in America, and then they were traveling around the world.
Perfect.
And we ended up spending, because I went to New York for a few days before, we ended up spending the whole of the 4 days in New York. Nice. And it was just so surreal, because it was like, you like I said, the power of that travel and camp especially, you just never know what opportunities kind of are going to hit you, but all of those feelings rolled into one. It's crazy in there. It's like, bloody hell, what's going on? But
well, we'll definitely touch on some opportunities, actually, because being the social media guy, some really cool stuff that you put on your social media, so there's been hell of an opportunities for you just by going to camp. But when you kind of when you got there and everything, and you've had these ideas and you've then started to get into it, was there anything that caught you out? Was there anything that surprised you that you went, didn't expect that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and we have to be like totally honest, and you read any of our content and you watch any of our stuff. I think we're very real and we're very upfront about life at camp, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows and skittles and jumping up and down and dancing and campfires. It's 99% that, but there is a 1% where it's a pretty tough job.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing for me, I'm not a morning person. Absolutely not a morning person.
Anyone that I work with here would know that about me as well.
Literally, I stroll in at 10 a.m. I'm like, I just can't get out of bed early. It's just not me. I can work late at night, but morning, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing that COVID's brought on in more like flexible working, because God, I couldn't do 9 to 5 in the office anymore. I'd be like, God, I'm like falling asleep.
Yeah.
Anyway, at camp, forget 9 to 5, we're talking 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. So
long days.
That was a big culture shock.
Yeah.
But the one thing that kind of got me through it was the people around me.
Yeah. For sure.
But it was tough. I don't think I ever mastered the long days.
Yeah.
And I'll touch on it in a bit later as well, kind of days off and making the most of them. But I just really struggled with it. The early mornings for me, they were a killer. I didn't mind running around in the sun all day, because a lot of my job was running all across camp to try and capture content. But just those early mornings, and there was someone who was like, I'd just love to hit snooze and half an hour more, but you can't. You signed up for a role that requires a lot of dedication, and you're looking after children. So that hit me quite hard. Something I need to work on for this summer, definitely. I'm sure there'll be a lot of coffee involved as well. But Americans love coffee and seem to make a good cup of it. So
that you can't go wrong there. I was going to say, and we need it to kind of get 100%. Through. And I think that's the beauty of it, is the fact that you're going to be working hard. You'll have your ups and down days, but clearly you absolutely loved it, because 17 days did you say until you're back out there?
I mean, I was one of them, and returners who are probably listening now or watching, I was one of them. 1 year, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm 24 now. I can't physically go anymore.
Yeah.
I'm too old for it. It'd be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Got back, took me about a month, and I'd already agreed to go back. I was like, it's the camp bubble that catches you and keeps you it'll keep you forever if you let it. 17 days, and I'll be on that flight from Heathrow to JFK. Which is still pretty scary, because I'm such a last minute person, and I haven't packed a single thing. I need to check what time my train to London is. I'm just so last minute. But I like the excitement.
Well, do you know what? It's that excitement, isn't it? When you get to the airport, the bags are in, or your backpack's in, whatever it is, and then you kind of go, oh, I'm there. But it's funny you mention that, because I'm at stage now, 31. There's still parts of me that go, I'd love to just go back and do camp again. And you don't actually ever properly get over that. it's always there, isn't it? Just nagging away in the back of your mind.
It's weird, and it's like little things. So
it's hard to
like
explain.
when you're like walking through town or whatever on my lunch, and I'll see like Duncan or I'll see Popeyes, and it just brings back memories of camp. And it's just it's quite sad, really, isn't it? Because I think we would all go back every single year if we could, but sometimes life gets in the way and life commitments, and it's hard. But I think, lucky for my role and the day that we, the world that we live in now, we can connect with people whenever, wherever. We get to keep that kind of community and that family, and even though these people are thousands of miles away. So I think definitely this will, touch wood, be my second and final year.
So he says.
But we'll see. Maybe this time next year could be summer number 3.
Oh, you never know. And I think that's the thing. I'm like, especially once we're having these types of conversations and stuff, people can think, oh, well, they work for Camp Leaders, so they're going to say it's absolutely amazing and stuff like that. I kind of just take myself out of the equation altogether in terms of, say, working for Camp Leaders and stuff. I will just say it how it is. People may think it's cheesy, or people may think, oh, well, they're biased, they're going to say that. But it is actually like that, isn't it? It's one of those where it is that good, it is that hard. But I've recommended it to everyone. And say my 2 brothers went and done it last year. I think they were both in New Hampshire. Nice. And they then realised and went, oh, it is actually like that. And then they've told people. So it's not that we just work here and say, is it?
100%. And like, good example of that was I was at an event a few weeks ago, not work related. And I was chatting away to this lady. And just telling her about like my plans for the summer and whatever. And she was like, she did camp in America about 20-30 years ago. She said she met her husband, they've now got children, and she says she still tells people about those stories to this day. So it's like you could go and ask random people on the street, and I guarantee you'll find somebody who's been to summer camp and I absolutely loved it. It's just we're quite lucky that we get paid to speak about it every day, although we still would if we didn't get paid.
Exactly.
Hopefully our boss isn't listening, because I still would like to be paid. So
still pay us to talk about it. And isn't that a cool story as well? You go, someone who went like 20 odd years ago, and it's so easy to forget. Summer camp's been going nearly about a century sort of thing, or half a century over in America. It's been going for so long. And you do get those sort of incredible moments where, like Roisin, who we work with, who met her partner over there. There's so many little stories like that, isn't it?
It's crazy. And like you were saying, like how long summer camp's been around. Camp Leaders' birthday is coming up this year. 25 years, which is pretty insane. So you imagine thousands of people that we've sent. That's thousands of millions of stories, millions of connections, which is pretty insane.
It's cool. And
we're quite lucky that we get to share those stories and people's stories. We get to work with creators and content writers and influencers who love to talk about camp because they believe in what it can do, kind of thing. So it's cool. And
very true as well. And you mentioned about when for your first summit that you took on loads of content, and you was like, okay, I'm gonna take this, and you had that extra year to be able to do so as well, enforced unfortunately. But would you do anything different? Like, say in the build up to it, like, we can obviously put as much content out there as possible, but at the end of the day, it's yourself or it's whoever going along. Would you do anything else? Would you read more? Would you not? Would you prep more? Would you go with the flow? How would you go about it differently? Or would you do exactly what you've done?
There's a couple of things I'd do differently, I'd say. I'd still say get yourself excited. Like, look through our TikTok, read our blog, watch our YouTube, like, hype yourself up. But do it in a way that gets you excited. Don't let it put a conception in your head, because we only physically can only showcase so much content. We work at over 500 camps. Those 500 camps are going to be totally different. They're not all going to have a giant lake in the middle, and they're not all going to have the same facilities as other camps. And some are faith camps, some are not, some are private. So I'd say enjoy the content, but don't let it put an image in your head of what your summer's going to be like. Allow it to like just make you excited. I'd say be prepared. I was not prepared. I was horrendous.
The last minute.
Very last minute. I'm still last minute this summer. I'd say do not do that. Like, honest to God, it just takes away so much stress if you just get everything in on time. You make sure you're kind of at the ready to fly stage as early as you can be. Do your police check as soon as you can. If you're still in the application stage, get your references in, fill in, like, just do everything you can. don't let a last minute scare pop up and be like, oh my God, am I going to be able to fly?
Because that can happen.
100%, and it's sad when it does happen, but like there's only so many times that we can say, you know, listen to us, and that's why we do say you need to do this now, because it'll help you later.
For sure.
So I'd say that, and then kind of the final thing I'd do differently was take a lot less luggage, because oh my God, there's a funny photo of me somewhere where I'm at Lime Street, and I've got a suitcase, I've got a hold all, and I've got like 3 shopping bags and a backpack, and I'm like,
that's a lot of stuff.
I took like 10 pairs of trainees, like it was bad. And I had my auntie on the door, like as I was getting dropped off to the train station. She was like, take some out, you're not going to need all them.
What are you doing?
I wore the same 2 pairs of trainees all summer. So I'm like, what the hell?
You wear the same stuff, don't you?
Honest to God,
you think that you're going to change, but it's the
I feel
same
like just taking like a little backpack this summer, because I'm like, don't need half the stuff.
Don't need checked in stuff. I'll just take the carry-on.
Literally, and like, to really put that into perspective, there's another funny photo of me in New York flying back home, and I somehow acquired another suitcase. So I've got 2 big suitcases, a hold all, and a backpack. I think when my mum seen me at Manchester on the way back, she wanted to kill me.
Yeah, you've got too much. Yeah,
so that is definitely, I'd say, do not overpack. And we've actually just put out a pretty cool video a few weeks ago.
Shout out Byron there.
Yeah, and our Meg, big up Meg. Of what not to pack.
Of course,
Meg asked me for some examples of what, and I was one of the people that packed a hairdryer. Don't know why. I've literally, it's that hot there. As soon as you get out of the shower, it dries instantly anyway. So don't overpack.
Yeah. It's so easy to get it wrong, isn't it? I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna take like a nice shirt with me. I went to a Jewish camp, so we had like Shabbat on Fridays, and so I'll have a nice shirt and everything, white shirt. 32 degrees. I'm used to UK weather. I'm sweating through everything. I wore it once and never again. Just got lashed into the corner.
That is a good point. White, greys, not good colours to wear.
Yeah.
And you're running around to tell those sweat patches.
Oh, well, that's it. And you're
dark colours all the way.
You got to, haven't you? Yeah, it is that hot in most places. And like you said, you are running around. You're so active and everything. But I suppose that kind of comes with creating so many amazing stories as well. And one thing I did want to check in on was kind of go, summer camp is, you cram so much into such a small amount of time, so you have so many amazing memories, and everyone's very different. Everyone's summer's very different. Have you got any sort of real memories that kind of stick out for you? Do you have a favourite experience? Or I know that overall summer's incredible. Do you have a few moments where you're like, oh, that just really resonates back with me?
Yeah, 100%. I think I was very lucky because I had a real privileged role, and my role was to capture not only my own memories and stuff, but everybody else's. And if anybody wants to go and have a look at the Camp IT Instagram, there's a post with me and my co-counsellor Sinead, and we were watching the sunset. It was like 3 days before camp was finishing. We've got our arms around each other, and it's a really long caption, but basically the caption is just saying thank you to all of our staff, our family, our families, our kids, for allowing us to capture their memories. So that was kind of when I posted that, like, genuinely emotional. I was like, oh, bloody hell, like, that was a crazy 10 weeks or whatever it was of just capturing those memories. But the specific kind of memories that stand out for me, there's 2. So one of them is every Friday at IHC, we did all camp campfire. So you imagine 1,000 people getting together, pretty insane. And we used to, sing and dance and everything else. But one thing that we used to do, one of our directors, Lauren, used to have a part with which she would make everybody be silent and look into the flame for 1 minute. And for that 1 minute, it was just surreal. Like, you would feel every emotion. You would feel like... And we used to use Friday night campfires as... Sadly, the countdown to camp ending, because it would go from like 8 campfires left to 7 to 6 to 5, and it was like, pretty emotional. And then another, I'm going to say 2 more actually, but the next one is at IHC, when you first start as a staff member, you get given a dollar coin, and I didn't even know dollar coins existed. And everyone gets
Still don't know.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've still got it at home. And basically what that is the directors give you that coin, and the idea is that you keep it in your pocket until you need to give it to somebody else, and the idea is that you just kind of pass on kindness, and you always it's always like putting change in other people's pocket.
Pay it forward.
Pretty much, yeah. Or keep it for yourself to remember your time at IHC and stuff. And I've still got mine. And every time I find it, I always find it in the most random places. Like because I'm so messy and lazy, I just find it lying around. And as soon as I see that, I'm like, oh, remember that moment.
That's really cool.
Pretty cool. And then the last one is the end of camp. So I don't know if your camp's the same, but I've seen it on quite a lot of camps. They'll do like a burning of the numbers.
Exactly the same.
So like a lot of camps will have traditions, won't they? And you'll find most camps will do the same thing, but their own spin on it. So yeah, we had like a little beach area at IHC, and we all got on the beach to put our arms around each other, and just watching the numbers go across the lake was just surreal. And like you could hear the tears from people because it was sad, but it was, you know, it was a nice moment, and the fact that everyone was together, even though we knew in the morning we'd all be going our separate ways.
It's heavy, isn't it?
But surreal. So,
you know, one thing I love about asking that question is that everyone has something so different. Like no one has like the same type of answer. And secondly, I kind of imagined when I first asked it, everyone would be like, oh, I had this amazing day where I was at the beach and these big massive things. And it's not necessarily about that, is it? Some of the best things about camp are some of the small moments, like you saying, looking into the fire. I kind of beginning thought, oh, summer camp, everything's just, you just sat around a campfire. And then when I went, these are some of the best times. Yeah. The ones where you're around who are friends for life. And then you go, this is quite touching, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think sometimes as well, when you're in that moment, you don't realise just how, like, you know, how lucky you are to be in that moment. Yeah. And, you know, not so much having regrets and stuff, but there's definitely times where I'm like, oh, I wish I probably would have enjoyed certain moments more.
100%.
But you don't know that when you're in that moment. So, yeah, it's pretty those types of moments are kind of like pretty surreal. Yeah.
It's funny, especially when you get towards the end of camp, because you are a bit tired, and then you're like, okay, well, you might be going back for university or see friends and family after a few months away. So you do kind of start going, oh, okay, I'm then ready to get back. But as soon as you're back, as soon as you get back, and you think you're coming back to an English summer, and then it's 12 degrees, it's raining, and you're back into routine for a week, you then do go, how did I not then just appreciate some of those smaller bits more than what I did? So I think it is real important just to live in the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's, again, a good point. I remember I'd see, because I spent half my day on TikTok, a lot of videos of like people saying, people don't talk about kind of the sadness that you feel once you've been traveling. Yeah. You get, so you know, you're away. In my case, I was away for 4 months. Yeah. Those 4 months, I never had a single day where I was on my own. I was surrounded with people. I was doing things. I was, you know, 100% adrenaline all day, every day. But getting home to, as you say, like, you know, the rain, the Monday
real
to
life.
Friday, real life. Yeah. Like, it's really hard to get out of that rut, because you feel like, you know, you should be, you're not in the place that you should be, kind of thing. And it's really difficult to deal with. And I think, again, something that I'd learned from this summer is just like speak about it when I get back home. Let people know that I'm sad and I'm not feeling 100%. Yeah. Because I think people expect you to come back feeling buzzed and like 100% full of energy all the time. But if you've just spent 4 amazing months in America, how are you going to be full of energy when you get back to the UK? Do you know what I mean?
I remember that feeling.
So
it was I even wrote an article on that, like the post-camp blues, and I think people actually, like, some people might also understand it, say, once they finish university as well, if they've had an incredible time. But when you've put so much mental effort and concentration into something, you've had such an incredible time, you've used up so much energy as well. I think it's important to then kind of look after yourself afterwards as well. Yeah. But I think that also just shows then how fun the actual time is that you're there.
Exactly. Yeah. No, 100%.
And talking of fun and talking of the fact that you are the social media whiz and everything, I know that you've got some incredible posts on your Instagram. So what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is I'm going to quickly bring your Instagram up. I want to bring a few memories up that you've posted up on there. And I'll do my best to explain the picture prior, but then if you kind of talk through that moment for anyone that's listening or watching, and hopefully they're going to have those moments as well.
Sounds
if that's okay.
Good. I'm excited to see how you describe them.
Yeah, let's have a go. Yeah, I'll have to pick certain ones, not others.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So for anyone that's listening along, Am I okay to say your username? Is that
Happily,
fine?
go ahead.
So it's Stefan.Price, if anyone wants to kind of look at the same time I'm doing this. If it's on YouTube, I'm sure Byron's going to pop it up on the screen. But here you are now. So let's scroll through and let's find one. Okay, so in fact, there's a video here. I can see the big yellow school bus.
The iconic school bus.
The iconic school bus, which most people are probably going to be taken to camp on.
Pretty much. And that's a surreal experience as well, to be fair.
Isn't it? I remember feeling like I was in a movie at that point.
It literally, like, you might be like, oh, it's not like the movies. It
is literally like the movies. So just having a quick look through now, and it seems to be a walkthrough of your time. I can see a lot about New York. I can see the boats and everything. You going down slides, fireworks. Talk us through. Is this like a journey piece, is it?
So I think pretty much, I remember, I'm going to have a look at the caption.
Yeah.
A little snapshot of my American adventure so far. So that must have been, so that was like 20th of July. So I must have been there for like, just over a month at that point.
Middle of your journey.
Pretty much, yeah. Not even middle for me, because I was there quite long as well. So I did some post-camp as well.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, been there about a month. And I just thought, how am I going to... And so the reason I made this kind of video of everything together, before that, I'd not really posted on social. Yeah. Because I didn't have 2 minutes to myself. Yeah. And I was like, how am I going to get all these crazy photos and videos to show my friends? I was like, I'm just going to bang together a quick reel, stick it on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, it's pretty much just to show my journey going through the airport and just those kind of crazy moments, you know, sliding down the slides, on the yellow school bus. Brilliant. On the boat, in the boat on the lake, like that was a surreal experience as well. I felt like I was in a movie then, whizzing around. And yeah, that was kind of, as I say, it was just, I wanted to kind of make people jealous, to be fair, as well, without posting a million things. It was an easy way to do it.
You are going to get some cool footage. It's funny because we've had this conversation, like, say, not on the podcast and stuff, but I'd kind of been off social media for a few years, and I've done quite a bit of traveling at this point, but I've then kind of almost forgotten about a lot of what I've done. And I know people say, oh, live in the moment and stuff like that, but also at the same point, it's now amazing to then, once you've collected that footage, to look back on, isn't it? Because you can then go, I even forgot we'd done that day. And you'll have that so often at camp.
100%. And I think it's a fine balance. Like my job is social media through and through. I wouldn't have a job without it. Absolutely. But I'm also a big advocate of having that fine balance, because you know, it's not the world's greatest tool. There's a sinister side to it. And you don't want to spend all your time looking down when you could be looking up. And that's the beauty of, especially the camp that I went to. There's people, you know, employ you to capture those memories on your behalf,
which is amazing,
which is cool. So I'd say, yeah, definitely, you know, get your phone out, take a good snap, but then put it away. You don't need it. You don't need to have it in your hand constantly. Let someone like me do that for you. It's my job. But yeah, I kind of, because I've done it for so long, working in social as well, I feel like I've got the balance. I can be on my phone capturing and enjoying at the same time. Definitely. Just because it's a skill that I've mastered for God knows how long.
I was going to say, and it is a great skill to have, because then you can look back and you've got all these amazing memories, but then you're also like, I was there, I took part, and because I lived on my phone prior, so it was nice to actually wean myself off, switch off and get involved, but also, make sure you do take the snaps and get that great content.
That's a good point as well. Like camp, for most people, 99% of people won't have their phone apart from times and days off. Good point. And like it is for them, it is like a detox. Yeah. It is a good time to switch off. I obviously couldn't do that because it was literally my job. And I'd like to know what it would be like to not have my phone kind of, you know, throughout the summer. It would be an interesting kind of experiment for myself.
I'm scratching
bit impossible because I need it for my job, but I'd be intrigued to see what it's like, because people say it's liberating.
It was. Yeah.
And they're like yourself, probably didn't go back on social, and I think a lot of other people that I know haven't, and they're just like, I'm pretty okay with this chill life. They'll have it just to keep in touch with friends and family, but they won't actively go on it, kind of thing.
And finding that balance, I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on to the next one, and again, I'm just gonna pick at ones here, so try and catch you out. Let's have a look.
I'm worried what I've posted.
I'll scroll past a few. I'll scroll past a few. So this looks a cool one here. I haven't got my contacts in, so I'm half just leaning over. But
you can describe this one to me.
So
I'll see if I know which one it is.
This one, it looks like, I would probably say it's the media team. You're all pulling like really cool poses. It looks like everyone's got their own individual roles. And scrolling through here, you've got a really cool team on as well and everything like that. I'm hazard a guess, is that the team that you worked with when you were away?
Yeah, so that's big shout out to Studio 18. We have our
Studio
very own
18.
name. We're
Nice.
one step ahead of above media team.
Love that.
Liam, who's the media director, or Studio 18 director, or I should say at IHC, is very big on creating community, and that was what we were known as, Studio 18.
Nice.
And I think
I undersold it as media team.
Yeah,
Apologies, Studio 18.
I'm pretty sure, I hope I get it right, but I'm pretty sure it's Studio 18 because that was the year it was conceived.
Nice.
Apologies, Liam, if I get that wrong. But yeah, so no, that was, so again, your camp, I'm going to bet on it that they had like a yearbook type thing.
Yep.
So every like area and stuff would have team photos and whatnot in it.
Absolutely.
So at IHC, every it wasn't just like on a plain white wall and everyone would smile and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
It was everyone had a different kind of like photo.
Yep.
Some of them were funny, some of them were a bit more serious,
Yep.
some of them were like just crazy. So our one, we were like, what better way to get our photo with like the things that we use every day. And
Brilliant.
a very funny story is, how do you get a photo of the media team if all the media team are in the photo? Like, it was crazy. It took us a good few attempts, but we got there. I can't remember if we got somebody to take it or we just used the timer. But
I was going to say,
pretty funny.
It looks a professional shot as well. So if it's
pretty good.
If it's a selfie or if it's a someone's taken it, they've done a good job.
Yeah. So it was maybe one of the kids did. I can't remember, but it's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can kind of see, I think Brilliant. It's like there's two on there. There's like a more serious one and a fun one. And I think that's again what camp is like. It's 99% fun and happiness, but there's that 1% you have to be serious every now and again, because you are dealing with children. And
Absolutely.
So it's pretty, it kind of sums it up pretty well. And I remember I posted that on the bus back to New York after camp had finished. And again, a bit of an emotional one, just being like, over, I think it says over and out, which was just like, I think I was listening to a sad Taylor Swift song when I was posting it, and I was like, oh God, what's happened to me?
Tears flowing on the way back to New York.
But good memories from that photo.
Oh, brilliant. And I was going to say, you can see from that the whole team are quite close and everything. And were many people first-timers on that? Did you have a few return it? Was it a mix or?
Yeah, so pretty, when people see the photo, it's a pretty big team as well. Like most camps have like one photographer, one videographer. 13. So quite a few. And it was a good mix. There was a few people, I'm going to say 2 or 3, who were retainers.
Okay.
But which was interesting about camp last year, because it was the first proper year back since COVID. A lot of the retainers had moved on and started new lives because it was a 2-year gap.
Yeah.
And 3 years in some instances. So last year for like the industry in general was pretty hard because usually each year there's a good amount of retainers that go back each year, but they were not there because the retainers would have been from 2019. So it was predominantly kind of first timers, but that made it good. We had the kind of couple of people to put their arm around us and help us. Brilliant. But we were all figuring it out together. Like, I love that. We were literally one family, which was cool.
I was going to say, and isn't that cool as well? Like, I can see how close you guys are there from that shot and how much of a good time you've had. And again, with most people being first timers, and that's what we're talking about, it shows you give it time, you're going to have a summer of a lifetime, aren't you?
100%.
And you eventually get there.
100%.
So let's pick one more. We've had the start of your journey.
Yep.
We've had towards the end of your summer camp journey. Yep. I think you've got quite a few traveling as well here. Yep. I'm going to pick one more selfishly because I can see the Golden Gate Bridge in the back and I'm still not getting over my holiday a couple of weeks ago to there. So talk us through. I can see that you're with there's 8 of you all together. You stood in front of what looks like quite a foggy Golden Gate Bridge. What's the story behind that one?
I was just going to say, I hope you had nicer weather than we did. Just kind of ironic in our trip. And again, anyone who knows me or kind of, is close to me knows that kind of drama follows me wherever I go. Whether it just be simple things or like really dramatic things, and this was no different. So we did the full 30 days travel.
Love
so
it.
8 of us, 2 cars, 2 hotel rooms, it was perfect.
The dream.
Like literally the dream. Like if you were to say, how would you travel after camp? It was like you couldn't make it any better. It was along the West Coast and it was insane. So we flew from New York to San Fran, and our first stop was San Fran. And you think of San Fran, and you think of all these amazing things you want to do. Yeah. And on top of most people's list is Golden Gate Bridge.
Absolutely.
And kind of when you go traveling, we were planners, so we did plan out in ahead because you only get 30 days, so you have to be, you have to be on it kind of thing.
You got to be on it,
So we were in like San Fran for 2 or 3 days maybe, and we had other things that we needed to do. So on day one, whatever it was, we right, let's hire bikes and go see the Golden Gate Bridge.
Got to be done.
Day started off perfect, blue skies. We were looking everywhere to try and find bike rentals because always trying to find a good price.
Absolutely.
And we were cycling along, and we're like, God, as we're getting closer and closer to the bridge, it's like disappearing. It's like, what the hell's going on here?
Oh no.
Figured out like apparently San Francisco is a really foggy city most of the year, which didn't know. Got to the bridge and just about got to the bridge because the wind was like, oh my God,
gusting.
Got to it and we were like, what on earth? You cannot even see the bridge. We were like, this is insane. And
you'll have to see if you're watching it on YouTube or
pretty
it'll
disappointing.
Be on there.
Pretty disappointing. And then kind of at the end of that post, there's a really funny video of us cycling back over it, and probably up there one of the most scariest experiences I've ever had. So going over the bridge and it's like foggy and whatever, but because obviously it's foggy and there's ship still going underneath it, they can't see like with their eyes. Obviously they have radar and stuff, but to announce that they're there, they beep their horns, if that's right saying for a ship. I don't know. Do you beep a horn on a ship?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Do you know what? It sounds good, so that'll do.
So yeah, you're beeping the horn, and when I say I've never heard a sound as loud, I thought I was going to fall off the bike into like the road. Like it was so scary. You couldn't see.
I shouldn't laugh, by the way.
But like it was like, well, yeah, you have to laugh, otherwise it's just like, oh my God, we were laughing through it just to get us through it. And I tell you what, all day I've been saying I really fancy a good curry. Don't know why, but I was like, I really fancy a good curry. As soon as we got back off that bridge, I was straight on Google Maps trying to find us the nearest curry house, and I enjoyed every single second of it because that was the most traumatic experience of my life. But
go on.
I've got to say, like, we laugh about it to this day. Like,
Brilliant.
Still didn't get to see the Golden Gate Bridge, but we do you know what? How boring would it be if we got there and it was just sunny? So,
what a story.
It was cool, pretty cool.
Well, considering we're talking about experiences and stories, I think that's probably a really cool little place to round it up on that.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
One thing I do love to do, I'm going to put you a bit on the spot, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Is I always like to kind of do a bit of a roundup and ask people for sort of 5 points and everything. And I think especially for people listening, a lot of people will likely be first timers, and you're now the expert. You've done your first summer, you're going back again. Would you, if you could round up and you could have 5 tips or 5 points that you can give for first timers, what would they be?
Number one would definitely just be prepared. And I said it earlier, but I can't literally emphasize that enough.
For sure.
Prepared. Get everything done, get everything ready.
Love it.
Number 2 is say yes to everything. So when you get there, I said yes to it as much as I could. Like somebody was like, "Do you want to have a go on the boat?" Yeah. Do you want to try this food? Yeah. Do it. Just say yeah.
Love it.
Because you never know what you're gonna kind of miss out on.
Absolutely.
3, live in the moment. Again, like I was saying before, don't be worrying about what's gonna happen in a few weeks. Don't be worrying about after camp travel. Don't be worrying about getting back home. Just enjoy that moment because you, as I say, afterwards you'll look back and think, oh, I wish I did enjoy that just a little bit more. So enjoy the moment. 4 would be ask questions. So the camps don't expect you to be an expert in everything under the sun. Like they're there you're there to do a job, of course, but you're there to grow and learn as a person. Yeah. So just ask. Like the camp industry is the most friendliest people in the world, and camp director probably sounds a bit scary, but they're just normal people like me and you. So ask. And number 5, like, be curious, I'd say. Which is an interesting one. Just be curious. You going on a cultural exchange, enjoy the culture, do things that you wouldn't do back at home, and just, as I say, ask questions, be nosy, and get to know your co-counselors who are American and find out what they're about.
For sure.
So yeah, I think they'd be my top 5.
I love that, and be curious is a good one to end it on as well. So Stefan, thanks mate for jumping on, kicking off season 2.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing who the next guest is.
Yeah, well, if you ever fancy jumping back on, please do.
Maybe this time next year.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, even more content then. Perfect.
Thank you.
All good, and thanks very much for listening or watching or wherever you're at. Check in next time.
And don't forget to follow us on TikTok.
Yeah, he had to throw that one in. That's a good little plug at the end. Thanks for listening to the Camp Leaders Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to pop us a like and subscribe and follow for more summer camp content.